What you should know before dating a single dad. What's going on, ladies? My name is Aaron. I'm a single dad. And today's video, I want to discuss the pros and cons about dating a single dad and what you should look out for when you're selecting a potential partner. So first and foremost, why it's a good thing to date a single dad. Depending on the type of relationship that a man has with his child, can be a good indication of what kind of partner he's going to be and what kind of provider he's going to be. Obviously, today there's social media, so you can pretty much see everybody's life online. The things you kind of want to look out for is if you're with your friends with them on Facebook or Instagram and you're seeing pictures where they're out doing a bunch of different things that aren't really like photo worthy, just like random things like going out to dinner or going to the park or going to the zoo, or pictures at the museum, or just basic little things like family fun stuff, there's a good chance he's probably a good dad. And a lot of those qualities translate into being in a relationship, because to be a good father, you need to be able to express your love and express how you feel about somebody, and you need to be able to outwardly express those things. So like a good father will always, he'll make sure he hugs his kids, he makes sure he tells them that they love them, that they know that they're important, that they know that they can be secure with their father's feelings about them. So again, that can translate into a relationship, because we already know how to show love. Although it's hard for some of us, especially like me, to break into a relationship and to get to that point, but the possibility of getting to that point and being able to show healthy love is huge. For my example, I talked about in a previous video, when I was trying to make my relationship with my son's mother work, I read the book, The 5 Love Languages. The one excerpt talks about filling a love tank. And in that excerpt, he talks about when you're a kid, that's when you learn how to love. You learn how to love from the love that you receive. And with kids, it's like they have a love tank. And basically, when you're a parent, you have the ability to fill that tank with love. And it fills up, fills up, fills up, fills up. And as long as you keep putting that love in there, that love tank will be full. When you don't put that love in there, there's not much love. You don't know how to love. You don't know that. So it's basically the same concept with dating. And a man that's willing to do that kind of stuff with his child and make sure that his child feels secure in their feelings, that's a man that can do the same thing for you. So that's the first thing I want to say, is why dating a single dad can be a positive. But there's things that you should look out for. Obviously, with any single dad, there's always the topic of what's the relationship like with your child's mother. And that's a fair question. And I think that one pro or one green flag that you can look for is finding out how that relationship is. Is there a custody agreement? Is there child support? Is all that stuff taken care of? Because that's how you can kind of gauge what kind of man he's going to be. So obviously, if a man has a custody agreement, it means he went through court and he did what he had to do to fight for the rights he has to make sure that he's in his child's life and he's a good dad. Obviously, child support takes a significant amount of money away. Obviously, our income is a little bit lowered because that money's already promised for. But our responsibilities as fathers is to make sure that our children have the best life that they possibly can. And if that means that my paycheck's a few $100s less a month or week, so be it. Those are positive things, and you can kind of gauge that too based on if they have all that stuff, it means the relationship with the mother is probably better now. For my example, I went through custody court. The court battle was hell. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but because we got through it and we finally were able to become civil, and now we have a great co-parenting relationship. So now my son has the best life possible because we both do what we need to do to make sure that he feels loved and he feels that he has everything that he needs. So if you're dating a man and he's a single dad, if he has that type of situation, it means he's probably ready to date and he's able to fully commit to you. The kind of cons I want to point out to you is that, like, if you're seeking a guy and he's single and he has a lot of free time and a lot of extra money, it means he's probably not doing his responsibilities as a father. You know, a man would not allow that his child not to be taken care of, and he would not allow himself not to have that type of time to be a good father. If a man has a lot of extra money, a lot of extra time, it means he's probably not spending time with his kids, and it means he's probably not supporting his kids. Unless he's a millionaire, then I guess that could be a different circumstance, but a lot of times that's probably not the case. Also, if you look at social media and you see like a lot of pictures where he's just out doing drinks, if his pictures are just selfies of himself, it means he's probably a pretty selfish guy. And if you look at the pictures he does have with his kids, they're probably just him holding it as like a photo op. I think that's a big red flag too. Take a look at the pictures. Do they seem like they're very organic? Do they look like they're kind of candid photos and they're kind of just capturing a moment, or do they look like they're staged? So those are the things you want to think about too, because especially if you're thinking about being in a relationship, these are the kind of qualities you can see how he is with his child, with his family, with his responsibilities, and how he might be with you. I feel like a lot of these guys that have those kind of profile pictures or profiles, and these are the type of things they do, they might seem pretty great in the beginning because they're giving you a lot of love, they're giving you a lot of attention, and they're telling you things you want to hear. And a lot of those things seem great, but then when you finally get to know them and they finally get settled in, you realize they're not the person you wanted to date. So take a look for those type of things. Being with a single dad does take patience, especially if you don't have kids. It can be a real culture shock to be able to date somebody that has kids when you're used to dating somebody who doesn't. From my standpoint, my child comes first. Now that doesn't mean that the person I'm with isn't going to get the best version of me for them. Our children are our priorities, because as any parent, it's our goal to give our kids a better life than we had. For me, I didn't have a good dad growing up. I didn't have that guidance and that support and that positive male role model. And a lot of times my dad chased the wrong things, and it definitely affected me later in life. But I'm finally at a place where I'm healthy, and I realize that I just want to be the dad that I wish I had. So being a dad is my top priority. That doesn't mean that he's gonna always choose his kids over you, but I need you to understand that what I mean by his kids always come first is that if there's a field trip, if there's something with school, that takes priority. If there's time that he has, like for my example, I have 2 weeks in the summertime. Me and his mother have two non-consecutive weeks in the summer. On those vacations, my goal is to maximize my relationship with my son and give him the best time and the best version of dad as possible. So when it's time to be dad, then I have to be not distracted. Obviously, one day if I date somebody and they become part of that, then they become a part of that circle. But like when it comes to taking care of your child, that has to be a priority. And a lot of women that don't have kids just don't understand that part of it. And I think the one thing I've heard a lot, and this becomes like the red flag part of it, where it's like, well, if you have a girlfriend or a spouse, then they should be your top priority. I do agree with that to a certain extent, but again, it's not picking them over doing something. Like, and I talk about in my video about dating as a single dad. In these early stages of finally dating for real after the relationship ended, it is very challenging, because after my relationship ended, I focused solely on being the best dad I possibly could. So I didn't really date. Instead of those days I would have been on a date, I took my son out. I went to the park. We did tons of things, and that component of starting a date is scary, because like I feel like, am I taking time away from my child? But with the right person and with the right person understanding, I think that they can understand if you're dating that kind of single dad, that eventually you guys can mesh and your personalities can come together and you can come to one common goal. If you already have kids, then you probably understand this, and you're the same way for dating somebody else, is that they need to understand that your kids come first. And I think that's also a good thing, is if you have kids already and you're dating a single dad, we completely understand that part of it. Especially like if you have kids, you want somebody that knows how to be a dad. I think that a man that's a good father he's gonna follow your lead when it comes to coming into your child's life. And personally, from my point, I would not introduce my son to anybody I was dating for a while, until I realized when the relationship was going to be moving to the next level. And the reason why that is because I feel like kids are so fragile, and the people that come in their lives are very important to them. And if it doesn't work out, then that's a person that you're taking out of your child's life that they have a connection with and that they have admiration and love for. So I never wanted to do that to my child, because I remember being younger and being around new women that my dad would be with, and I would think that this would be like a mother figure to me, and it wasn't that way. So if you're a single mom that's something that we can agree on. My goal for this video is just to kind of lay out some things that you should notice when you're dating a single dad. So again, take a look at the character of the man that you're seeing. Don't take everything off the face value that you're seeing. Don't take everything off what you're being presented, because a lot of people are really good at presenting something that just isn't who they truly are. And if you're worried about not getting enough time, there's plenty of time for you. Again, the kids are number one priority, but there is plenty of times, especially being a single dad, where there is time for you. So don't think that you're not going to get time just because he's focused on being a father. Again, take a look at the whole situation, see where he is with his custody stuff. Did he go through court? Did he not go through court? Do they have a good relationship? These are things you want to focus on, because obviously if you're watching this video, it means that you're thinking about putting yourself out there for somebody. Those are things you should look out for. Again, don't be scared to date a single dad. I promise that if you do your due diligence and you see the man for who he really is, if you think he has the potential to be a good partner and a potential husband, then you should go for it. And obviously it's healthy to have reservations, but I think as you approach it, I think you'll get to where you want. The one thing I did want to say is that personally for myself, because in my relationship, I put myself out there a lot. You know, I had the dream home, the marriage, more kids, big house, big family. And that stuff just didn't transpire. And there was a lot of things I settled for in that relationship that I probably shouldn't have. They affected me greatly because I stopped being myself and I started trying to cater to what I thought my partner wanted. And I lost a lot of myself in that. As I started getting back into the dating field, I'm more aware of red flags. For example, some of those red flags that I would let you know that you should probably steer away from is, as a dad, like I like a woman that's confident. I don't mean confident by being cocky. I just mean that, like, you don't need the constant reassurance from a man, and you don't. I think self-deprecation is probably one of the most unattractive qualities that I can find in somebody. Like, for example, if there's somebody that I'm starting to date and I think they're attractive, I'm gonna tell you you're beautiful all the time. And if every time I tell you you're beautiful, and you say, no, I'm not, I'm ugly, and then you go and all these things that are wrong with you, that's not attractive. Because as a man, like, I want you to feel beautiful. Like, and I'm saying it because it's true, not because I'm trying to get something from you. It's because I feel this way and I want you to understand that this is how I feel. So that's one red flag that I usually can't really deal with, and has been a reason for a lot of my failures in my dating escapades. Being a single dad, like, I'm interviewing you for the relationship, but I'm also interviewing you for being in my child's life. And I want my child to have as many people around him that love him as possible. As a single dad, I want a good person around. There are qualities that I see in you that won't be conducive to being a good influence or be able to help raise the children, especially if you have kids. It needs to be a cohesive unit. And if I can't see that person being that positive influence, no matter how attractive they are, it's something I can't really look past. This one's for the ones that don't have kids. Again, I think it's extremely challenging dating somebody who doesn't have kids, because a lot of times they just don't understand the components of it. Just because, you know, before I had kids, I never knew what true love really was until I laid eyes on my son. You know, I thought I loved my parents, I thought I loved my friends, I thought I loved siblings. But when you meet your child, it's a completely different love. I think that people that don't have kids just don't understand that. And I also think that when you have kids, that your heart and your soul are opened up to different emotions that you have when you don't have kids. You know, when you don't have kids, you can close your heart off to things in the world. You can ignore things and you can kind of compartmentalize things. But like being a dad, like, or being a good parent, I think you're sensitive to the things that happen in the world. Like when tragedies happen, school shootings happen, when war happens, or when kids are bullied, or somebody passes away, a young child. Like, those are things that affect me as a father, and probably affect you too as a parent. And I think that when you don't have kids, you have the ability to kind of shelter yourself from that kind of stuff. And because ultimately, like, your job as a parent is to protect your kids, and when you have kids, it provides you a greater sense of empathy because you feel you feel absolutely gutted that another parent would lose their child. Again, that's just a sensitivity that parents have that somebody doesn't have. Also, another red flag is, especially when it comes to dating somebody that already has children, not necessarily like the age of the kids, but sometimes it can be challenging, especially if there's a large gap in children's ages, especially if somebody has older kids. Like, I'm 40 now and my son's 7.5, almost 8 years old. There's some people that have kids when they're late teens and early 20s, and in that case your kids are college age or older, or they're starting to have kids. Again, when you don't have kids and you meet somebody, you're both on the same wavelength. But I think being a dad of a younger child is different than a mother that's a parent of a college age kid, because as a young kid dad, the things I do are different, the way I parent's different. My always trying to find fun things that we can do, go to amusement parks, go to museums, do fun festive activities. And a lot of times women that have older kids are out of that stage and they don't want that anymore. They want to travel, they want to do all kinds of stuff, go out every night, because they have that freedom. When you have a younger child, you don't have that. That's one thing to be aware of too, is that you might think that this man's a good fit for you, but you might be at just different stages in your lives, even if you're the same age. Dating somebody that doesn't have kids, they didn't want kids, or they're going to want one now, especially when they're in the years of their lives where they're living their best lives, or when you should be kind of, have your career and all that. Do they want to take on this responsibility of being somebody that's going to be in your child's life and somebody that's not going to leave their life? And again, like, you kind of have to get a sense, if they do have kids, what kind of mother are they going to be? What kind of mother are you going to be? Are you able to accept somebody else's child as not like your child, but are you able to do your best to support them and kind of give them the love that they need when they need it? So that's a challenging part too. That's a red flag. And then, like, another red flag is looking for how your personalities clash. So again, my main focus for the last 4 years has been being the best father I possibly can be. So with that, like, when I go on dates, and they're like, well, where's your favorite place to eat? And I'm like, any place that has chicken tenders and french fries. So, like, I feel like that part has kind of escaped me, because now I'm not really, like, able to know all the cool places to go. And I don't drink in front of my child, so I don't really drink that much. I guess my idea of what I think is fun is kind of different than a lot of people. Like, I like getting coffee and getting to know somebody and having real conversations. I'm not really as big into drinking anymore. I still do drink, but it's not really a top priority. I started dating somebody recently and they didn't have kids, and every day I talk to them, they're like, well, I went out last night with my friends. We went out here. I had these drinks. I went out again. And, like, it was like 5 days in a row that she went out to the drinks and food. And that's great and all that, but, like, I'm at the stage where I'm not really doing that anymore. And so personalities clash that way. Also, if you have kids, especially if they're younger, you want to make sure that if you're going to be bringing a man into your life, that he's going to be a good man to your kids. Because the worst thing you can have is somebody that's going to come into your life that's going to bring hardship to your kids. Because he can be a great man to date, but if he's not good to your kids, then that's not really adding to your life. I guess I would say, I mean, for me, I had my past relationship. My son's mother had a child before me, and I have a great relationship with her son now, and he's like a second son to me. So that's another thing you can look out for, is that if you're dating somebody that's had stepkids in the past, what are their relationships like with those kids? If they have a good relationship with those kids, it means that he was probably a good influence and a good character and a good role model to them. If his stepkids hate him, there's probably a good chance that whatever personality traits he has is probably going to translate into how he's going to treat your kids. So be aware of those things, ask those kind of questions. Obviously, there's two sides to every story. So if he's blaming 100% on the other parent, if he's not taking any responsibility on his own, if he's not self-aware of these things, those are red flags that you should probably look out for and kind of stay away from. Again, the reason why I'm making this video is because I don't want you ladies to go through a horrible dating experience. I'm sure if you're watching this video, it's because you want the partner for the rest of your life and you want an honest guide in how to find a good man. Again, dating a single dad can be really beneficial. They can be a great influence if you already have kids. You're looking for a man that is not going to play games with you, that's going to give you 100%, that you can have a visual of how he treats his child and how that might translate into how he treats you. I know it can be scary and it's understandable and our hearts are a little guarded, but if you are able to break through that barrier and you're able to get into her heart, then you probably have a man for life. And if you have kids, you're going to have a positive role model in your kids' lives. Because even if you have kids that had a previous relationship where either their father or stepfather wasn't a good influence, there may be that time frame where your kids aren't receptive to a new man in your life. A real man, a real father will be patient, and he will put the work in, and he will support you, and he will allow you to be the best parent, and he will allow those kids to have the best relationship with you and best relationship with them. Just remember, if you have kids, you're interviewing for who's going to be in your child's life as well. So if you have kids, we're protecting each other's kids, and I think that's a good thing. We need to be ultra diligent when it comes to the people that we let in our children's lives, because they mean so much to us. If you don't have kids right now, just be aware that you might not get the same experience that you would with a man that doesn't have kids, as far as freedom, as far as being able to travel, being able to go out every night, to be able to do lots of fun things. But the trade-off is you're probably getting a really good man, and the man's going to treat you well, and he's going to be able to see past all the superficial stuff and be a good partner to you. So don't be scared to date a single dad. Look for the red flags that you're not willing to deal with. Make sure you have a list. If you start seeing some of the traits that you saw in a previous relationship that didn't work out, don't look past that stuff, because from what I've learned, that stuff, if people show you who they are, believe them. I appreciate you ladies watching. If you made it this far, please comment below any questions you might have. Please comment below any stories you might have of maybe when you thought somebody was one thing but they ended up being another. Please let me know some of the qualities you look for, some of the red flags you're not willing to deal with. Anything that you have will help somebody else. And that's honestly my goal with these videos, is to help other people. It's to help moms, it's to help dads, it's to help parents, it's to help kids. Because ultimately, when we have kids, our goal is to make the best people that we possibly can, so that this world becomes a better place. So if you like this video, please like it, please share it, please subscribe, and may God bless you and your families.